Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Nick Drinks. You're seeing my stature compared to our guest right here.
Nick Drinks.
This is Richard Anderson. He is the co-founder of Iron Fish Distillery, way out in Traverse City, right?
Yeah, south of Traverse City, Thompsonville, to be
yeah.
exact, down a 2-mile dirt road.
So you've made one of the longest commutes to Nick Drinks, so thank you.
No, come on, really? Is that right?
I mean, at least for in Michigan anyway.
All right.
And just to let everyone know, this is actually his second appearance on a Nick Drinks property. He was part of the TV show that we did last year.
I was supporting cast. Actually, Sarah did the cocktails, which
You made the trip, so we thank you.
You bet.
So we are, of course, familiar with the Iron Fish properties that you guys put together, but you have something brand new, which has a great history for Michigan. Talk about Copper Queen whiskey.
Well, you know, Copper Queen whiskey is something that just kind of happened to us based on the relationships that we have in the Upper Peninsula. So we raised our family up in the Upper Peninsula.
Okay.
I spent my career up there, and community members in Calumet shared with me the story of a distillery from prior to Prohibition, founded by an Italian immigrant, a guy named Bianchi, who had a tavern. And back in those days, it was let the good times roll. Yeah. You could have a distillery in the basement, you could have a brewery. Things weren't licensed, and Bianchi actually, for the Italian community, the copper mining was booming at the turn of the 1900s, right up to about 1920. Calumet was, here's the backdrop. Calumet was the second largest city in Michigan.
Wow.
Right around the time of Copper Queen coming out, the legislature in Michigan nearly voted Calumet in as the capital of the state. It lost by 2 votes.
So for local Michiganders, we can put our hand up and figure out where it's located. Yep, and you had the Upper Peninsula.
So here is the Keweenaw Peninsula, and the Keweenaw Peninsula is endowed by a major copper.
Yep.
A find that was exploited over 100 years, and copper mining was the catalyst for this amazing community. So if you go there today, about 90,000 people once lived in this community, and now there's only about 850. So significant is the architecture that the Keweenaw, the National Historic Park, designated the Keweenaw Peninsula and Calumet as part of the historic park in Calumet. So there's actually a historic district up there that's run by the National Park Service. And the gem of Calumet, really the anchor of the architecture, is one of the nation's oldest opera houses called the Calumet Theatre.
Wow.
And so this whiskey, Copper Queen whiskey, was launched just around 1903, 1904, and became very popular around 1914, 15. Okay. And Copper Queen is a whiskey that actually, I think one of the things that's interesting about the label, because we tried to stay as true to the label as possible.
So this is the label from 1903.
This is the label from 1903, but we kind of modernized it a bit and made we decided to actually name a new Copper Queen. Okay. So the Copper Queen is inspired by the actresses and the actors that performed at the Calumet Theatre back in the time. So this is a likeness of Lillian Russell, famous actress who performed on the stage of the Calumet Theatre in the early 1900s. That's actually the hat she wore on stage. Okay. The community came to us because of our connections to the region, but we wanted to give back to the community because, I think it's only right that this whiskey becomes a postcard to encourage people to actually consider going up and rediscovering our Michigan heritage. Sure. And along the way, proceeds from the sale of our whiskey support the Calumet Theatre. So for every 2,000 bottles of this whiskey that we sell in Michigan, $1,000 goes to support the Calumet Theatre.
That's great. So when you talk about that big decline in population, are they still mining copper up there? And does it just take fewer people?
No, it was copper mining was completely shut down in the late 70s. Okay. The last mine closed, but when you travel all the way up to the Keweenaw Peninsula and Copper Harbor, you'll see vestiges of the old mining communities and towns along the region. Mining in the Upper Peninsula is coming back, but not in that region so far.
So were they looking for entertainment then for the workers, and hence the Opera House?
Yeah, well, so the Opera House was really the entertainment cultural center of that region. Remember, second largest city in Michigan. You know, at the same time, there was a lot of turmoil. So there was the formation of the copper union mines that were forming. The largest engagement of National Guard troops in Michigan was not the Detroit riots. It was to quell the uprising related to union organizing in that region. So, you know, at night, you went to the Red Jacket Saloon. So all of the community used to be called Red Jacket. So you go to a Red Jacket Saloon, and the most popular whiskey at the time was Copper Queen whiskey. So
and now it's back.
And now it's back, and at the encouragement of the community, and we wanted to stay as true to the label. If you go on Instagram and follow Copper Queen whiskey on Instagram, you can actually see a picture of the original bottle and the original label, and you can see how close we came. We actually tell a little story about Calumet on the back, and tell a little story on the neck tag that comes with each bottle about the founder of the distillery.
And when you talk about having to recreate that label, it was kind of the Wild West back in the day. Now there's the TTB. Did they put some certain rules on you of things you had to have on the label?
Well, there are certain rules. We could not put an exact likeness of Lillian Russell on the label. We were curious to see if high grade would be approved by the TTB. You know, high grade at the time was a sophisticated way of saying that there isn't methanol in the whiskey and that you wouldn't actually go blind drunk. So this we stay true to that quality statement. This is a high-grade blended whiskey. Okay. So this is a blended whiskey of corn, malted barley, and rye.
Okay. Well, it's great.
Should we try it?
Yeah, let's give it a try.
All right. Let's do it.
And I think the design of the packaging is great. The tall classic bottle, the label with those just kind of you know, really what's that term? The coloring, that brownish coloring.
Yeah, the patina coloring.
Patina, yeah.
And you know, again, that character of that label was really, we tried to stay as true to the original label and true to the original artist as possible. So cheers.
Thank you. 43%. Doesn't have a ton of kick, but definitely there is a little heat in there. Some really strong, good whiskey flavor. A little bit of barrel, touch of sugar. That rye is there. Yeah, now it's all kind of blending in.
Kind of mild, really approachable.
Yeah. Long finish, still going. Neat. Really neat. So talk about price points. What are we looking at for this?
So state minimum price is $39.96, and again, for every 2,000 bottles we sell, we're supporting this state's probably most amazing opera house. But more than anything else, we hope that people find this postcard, get inspired to talk about it, plan a trip, go up to the Upper Peninsula and see the heritage of Michigan.
And I think for that price point, that is very reasonable, especially for the history, the juice, and the charity that you're also doing as well. I think that's fantastic. So great buy. I think this really tastes good. You had also mentioned that not only can you drink it straight, which I think is not a problem, that there's also some cocktail options as well.
Yeah. So I think a 4-season standard for whiskey is the old fashioned, and to bring a little summer into old fashions. The first thing that shoots out of a garden or along a fence line in the Upper Peninsula and down here in Ferndale and all across Michigan is rhubarb. And rhubarb has got this sweetness, but it's also a little tart. Yeah. And so we make at the distillery, we make a rhubarb simple syrup. And then we're now doing aromatic bitters, Iron Fish aromatic bitters. So I'm going to leave you a little bottle of that. And so we do a couple dashes of our aromatic bitters, and a little peel of the rhubarb, and you're off and running.
That's great. So if people want to find more about the product, where would they go?
Well, actually, you can go on our website, ironfishdistillery.com, and check the tab where spirits are sold, and you can look. We do not sell this at the tasting room, so this is only sold at liquor stores and served at bars. You will find it all throughout the UP, and I think it's slowly making its way downstate. My family was trying to wrap their head around the fact that I wanted to launch a whiskey brand around the most remote spot in Michigan with the least population. And so far, it's my scheme is working.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate you,
Thank you.
making the trek.
You bet.
And keep a lookout for this product around Michigan. But that's it for this episode. If you want more from Nick Drinks, you can find us at nickdrinks.com. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Nick Drinks, DOTCOM spelled out. And you can also find us on YouTube, which is where you're probably watching this, youtube.com/nickdrinks. Thank you so much. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers.